Hey everybody, welcome to Saturday's edition of The Philosophy of a Photo Artist. This is January 2025. We got a lot to cover here today, so sit back, grab your favorite snack and drink. But some major things we're going to talk about is, number one, I've got to apologize. I got to make a few corrections. Number two, I've been challenged by a subscriber, so we're going to get into that one. Let's see. Number three, I got a request from many of you that have to do with frames. And then the very last thing we're going to take a look at is some sample images from one of the subscribers of this channel. Are we ready for this? Let's do it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you are new to this channel, this is dedicated to photography and as a photo artist, pushing ourselves out of the box creatively. All right, just give a heads up because I've gotten quite a few new subscribers over the last, say, 3-4 weeks. I put together once a month on a Saturday, a video like this called The Philosophy of a Photo Artist, where I cover certain issues and concepts and maybe some things that came up that some people didn't understand and they emailed me. And by the way, my email address is right here at the bottom of the screen, stephenphotoartist@gmail.com. We'll talk about that email in a few minutes, but feel free to email me. A lot of people are afraid to make comments, and you'll get better response if you do email me at my private address. So again, it'll be in the show notes. So again, it's stephenphotoartist@gmail.com. Okay, so number one thing I'm going to talk about, and there's going to be actually 6 major things here. Some will be longer than others. So just sort of sit back, chill out, grab a favorite snack and drink. But number one is a big thank you. I try to do that every month, and that's the people that are supporting this channel. Because again, very small channel. I've been promoting, you hear me say or see little flashes on the screen, to go to buymeacoffee.com/StephenPhotoArtist. These are the people that have been supporting the channel from last month. So here's a list of them right there. I'll keep that up for a while so you can scan through that. I need to emphasize, though, I pull those names from buymeacoffee.com from last month. So this represents December 2025. A few of those actually donated 2 to 3 times, but it just shows one time in the listing. I need to emphasize that they do not take the emails and stuff like that to make an email list to sell to third parties. I don't either at all, so don't be afraid of that. But I want to show you something right here. Let's go to the website. If you go to, again, buymeacoffee.com/StephenPhotoArtist, and the link is in the show notes. This is the interface right here. This is where you can donate 1, 2, 3 cups of coffee, whatever you want to do. A lot of people miss the extra tab, and the extra tab is a way of donating to the channel, but getting something back in return. So you'll see here a listing of things. And then this will be filled up with more things in the future. But a real popular one, as an example, is painting with brushes in Photoshop. If you click on this, and you'll see a link here, the link, click on that, and there'll be a short video explaining what this concept is and then what you receive for your $5 donation. And again, it's a way of supporting the channel, but you getting something back in return rather than just, say, donating a cup of coffee or 2 or 3, which is fine to do, but I find a lot of people are missing that extra tab. So the home tab is where you can donate the coffee. Extra is different things like templates and things that you can get, and very reasonably priced. Okay, so that's out of the way. Let's take a look at number 2, and that is Google Gmail. Are we ready? Let's do it. This is number 2, and this is going to be a quick one, and that has to do with my email address, stephenphotoartist@gmail.com. Google had a little bit of a problem with my email. Something came up, and I was trying to backtrack. I'm missing some emails. They're still working on it. So if you emailed me on something and I didn't return that email or something came up, whatever, email me again, please, because I'm not ignoring you. It's just that things disappeared in that, and they're aware that something happened. There was a problem with the email. So I need to get that out of the way. All right. Now, number 3 is going to be on me. It's going to be a little bit of a lengthy concept here, but that is, I've been goofing up and missaying things about rules of philosophy of a photo artist and what is the difference between a photographer and a photo artist. And I've been catching myself actually making mistakes. I need to clarify this. Plus, I was getting a lot of emails response to this. So let's get into issue number 3, and that is a better explanation of what is a photo artist versus a photographer, and what are some of these rules versus a philosophy. Let's get into it. Okay, because I got a lot of new people, I know I'm repeating this, but I try to get a better example about the difference between what is a photographer versus a photo artist. I actually consulted with a lot of other photographers to get their opinion on this to help me out with this presentation. But before I get into that, I found that I was making mistakes, and I would say things like, remember the rule, and I was stating something, but it's not a rule, it's really a philosophy. So I'll give you an example. Once in a while, you'll hear me say, remember, inspiration is not inspiration unless you follow it up with action. If you don't, you've just been entertained. Well, that's not a rule, but yeah, I catch myself saying that. It's a philosophy. One of the things that I'll still remember this today was my late 20s. Met a very successful person I became friends with who owned businesses. And he had this phrase, and he said, don't tell me you can't, tell me you won't. And one of the challenges he had in business, now this is way back in the 80s now, computers, PCs were just coming into small businesses and major corporations. And say in small business, you had people that did bookkeeping manually and they used a calculator and that kind of stuff. Well, now they're buying software to do that. And the person that did it manually would now have to run that software on a computer and just plug in the numbers, into the computer, and they're not manually doing all the calculation and stuff. Well, people are intimidated with the computer, and they got to learn how to use an interface with the computer. So he always would tell people, don't tell me you can't learn to do this, tell me you won't. Now that is a philosophy, okay? It's not a rule, it's a philosophy. And I took that philosophy with me throughout my careers. Now the thing is, there is a limitation to that. So I'll give you an example. Hey, Steve, don't tell me you can't be a professional golfer, tell me you won't. Okay, I will tell you, I won't, because there's a physical limitation and, just talent. Some of us are born with better talent. Some of us are born smarter than others. It's not right or wrong, it's just the way it is. Some of us can run faster than others. Some are, we're bigger and taller and stronger than others. It's just, that's a fact, okay? So, but in learning photography, don't tell me you can't get better at photography. Tell me you won't. Now, that's a philosophy. Don't tell me you can't learn Photoshop. Tell me you won't learn Photoshop. Again, it's a philosophy. It's not a rule. Okay, the only rule that photo artists follow is one rule only, and that rule is we don't follow rules. So let me give you an example, an explanation, because you're going to fall under one of these two umbrellas. You might go back and forth on both, but I'm going to show you some example images toward the end of this presentation in PowerPoint. So are you ready? Let's do it. Okay, so we as photographers fall under an umbrella here. You see on the left side, the red one. And then the photo artist is on the far right. That's under the blue umbrella. And I have some images I'll share with you to give you an example of the ABC under each umbrella. But let's start out with a photographer. And we'll start with the group that's I would say, very hard-nosed and very strict. And by the way, there's no right or wrong on this. In fact, like me, I jump from one side to the other quite a bit. So the first group, the A group here under a photographer, is basically what the camera saw. Now, what does that mean? Well, you're shooting JPEG. You're not shooting in RAW. And let me explain why in a minute. No cropping allowed, no editing. It's like a journalist who's out taking photographs, might be for sports or some other thing. They cannot alter at all that image. So this is equivalent to taking an image with a film camera. Let's say you went out and shot a roll of film. You sent it out to be developed. You got the prints back, and you're looking at the images. It's what the camera saw. Exactly. So there was no cropping, no editing at all. Okay, so that's equivalent to shooting JPEG. That's what a photographer does, according to Group A. Now, Group B is a little bit different. They will do what you can do in a darkroom, and that is, one, they'll shoot RAW, so that's like shooting film, but it's like you're developing that film, so you will crop the image for a better, say, composition. You'll maybe adjust the exposure, need to bump it up a little bit or pull it down a little bit. You're going to be doing some dodging and burning. These are typical things like Ansel Adams has done and many, many others, and that's under the umbrella of a photographer. Now, unfortunately, the group on the left side, the A group, doesn't agree with the B group. Okay, I'll leave that for those people, the battle. I mean, I'm neutral on that stuff. The group C, which still falls under the category of a photographer, and that is they're doing what group B is doing, but they're doing more editing. They might be pushing up shadows and adjusting other things, plus removing some minor distractions. Like maybe there's a red exit sign in the background and you had no other choice when you're doing a group shot, so you want to remove that distraction and stuff. Again, group A doesn't like that kind of stuff, okay? They're very rigid in the rules. But again, this is what if you're a photographer, you tend to fall, I should say, under one of these three groups, A, B, or C. Now, if we go to the other side, under the photo artist umbrella, that group, and again, I'll show you some examples of images, the photographer will do what group C does, but they'll also add some elements, meaning it's not what the camera saw. It might be like I showed an example. I was doing a landscape and I dropped in a tree or shrub on one side for balancing out the image. Well, it wasn't really there, but I just added it to my composition. So that is being, again, a photo artist. We don't follow rules except for one, and that rule is we don't follow rules, right? That's our major rule. Okay, the group B here, and again, I'll show you an example, is compositing. I'm taking an image of a person, cutting them out and putting them into a background that I had pre-selected in advance or whatever. So when I was photographing that person, I was doing the lighting based on that background I was going to use. And then the group C under the photo artist umbrella is really pushing to abstract. You'll start with a basic image, but boy, you're just going to push and add elements and other things. And again, I'll show you examples of this. So these are the two groups being umbrellas, the photographer on the left side, and the photo artist on the right. And I tend to jump back and forth between these two groups. A lot of times I'm doing client work. Well, I'm mainly going to be in this group right there. For practicing purposes to get better with my camera and settings, I do this for fun. I shoot JPEG, and it's basically what the camera saw so I can analyze my workflow, that kind of thing. When I'm doing creative things, I'm under the umbrella of a photo artist, something simple like the A, B. But you know what? I've dibble-dabbled in this area, C, a little bit, but I'd like to get back into that. I just never had time for it since now I'm retired from client work. It's something I have in my diary that I'd love to do this in the near future. So let's take a look at some images right now. Okay, taking a look at this image, this is 100% shot in JPEG, exactly what the camera saw. This is out in Port Huron in Michigan, between Port Austin and Kaysville. It's an area that means a lot to me because as a kid, we used to go to certain cottages every year with my cousins and stuff to vacation for a week. And this just brought back memories. We would be up on that rock, jumping in the water, that kind of stuff. But again, I just use a certain picture profile in my camera. When you get your camera, it's usually set to a standard picture profile. You can make customized ones. There's other ones that you can choose, but they only work with JPEG. They don't apply that to your RAW file. So this is an example of me being under the umbrella of a photographer in group A. There was no cropping at all, no adjustment, exactly what the camera saw, like if I shot this on a roll of film, had it sent out and had the picture come back to me. The next image is still under the umbrella of a photographer, but in this one, I did shoot in RAW. I zoomed in on this with a lens. I forgot what lens it was, but doing a wedding. But I cropped this a bit, not a lot, maybe 10, 15%. I cropped in a little bit. I didn't like the distraction that was on the left side, so I just pulled in a little bit. And again, just adjusted the exposure. So that would be group B under the umbrella of a photographer. By the way, the family members were like, this is like one of their favorite images. He was a ring bearer at the wedding, and he sort of looked around and saw me in the back there photographing, so I caught him doing that. Okay, the next image would be under group C, under the umbrella of a photographer, but there's some distraction there, and that is there's people around there, like we see in the foreground, so I wanted to remove them, so you can do that in Photoshop. So this is still being a photographer, but I'm that group C now under that umbrella that we looked at earlier. Now, going to the other umbrella, and that is under the umbrella of a photo artist, now we're going to take a push at what the camera did not see a little bit further, and that is by taking this image, I did two things in a past video on this channel, and that was I changed the sky to make it a little bit more interesting. And I added a tree or shrubbery on the left side here. So if I show you that, okay, that's not what the camera saw. So I'm a photo artist. I'm putting in elements that I feel that add more to the image right there. And so this is not being a photographer, it's a photo artist. But that's group A as a photo artist. Group B as a photo artist is doing things like this. And that is, I showcased this months ago. This is Jenny. I've worked with her many times. She makes her own outfits. That is a for real sword. That is not a gimmick sword. That sucker is heavy. And so I had a background I had in mind, and I told her what I wanted her to do. And I had a strip light on the far right. That was my main light there. And I had a little bit of a fill light in front, but nothing on the left side. And then I cut her out and I did this as my composite. So that's called compositing. And that would be group B under the umbrella of a photo artist. And then again, just to show you another one, this I did a lot with kids, high school seniors, that kind of stuff. This is being a photo artist, correct? I'm cutting somebody out of a plain background and dropping it into a scene like this. Okay, now let's go into group C under the umbrella of a photo artist, and that is doing surreal work like this. You're starting with maybe a base image like this that you did, and then you're adding all these other elements. You're really pushing it here. This is, again, another image from Gray Cat. These are not my images right here. You're starting out with a base image here, but look at all what you're adding to this to come up with your piece of artwork. And this is being, again, a photo artist. One other one right here. I love this stuff. I need to get back into trying something like this. I haven't done this in years. It's something I tried a little bit, but I was too busy with teaching Photoshop internationally and then doing photography on the side, doing weddings and other stuff. And I just never had time to do it. So it's in my diary, but you're starting out with, again, a base image, but you're really adding elements and textures to come up with a piece of artwork. This is not being a photographer, it's being a photo artist. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense, because I'm still getting questions from new people about, I don't understand the difference between, well, what is a photographer versus photo artist? And again, as I mentioned earlier, I jump back and forth between both sides right there. So hopefully that helps explain that a little bit better with that slide presentation and some images. All right, so now let's get into our next issue, and that is, let's see, I had to write it down so I don't forget, and that is the challenge. Oh, no, it is a request from a few of you, and that has to do with a template. So are we ready? Let's do it. All right, this is number 4, and that is, I got some emails and requests that a few weeks ago when I did the concept of the film strip and showed how to build that, a few of you asked, could I have that available on buymeacoffee.com to offer as a template that you guys can use? So the answer is going to be yes, but I'm going to do one better than that, and I'll talk about the one better next week, Wednesday, for you. But if you didn't see that video, they're talking about this right here. Again, I will talk about this in depth on a Wednesday, but the answer is yes, I will put that together and have this, and I think a little bit of a bonus on top of that at buymeacoffee.com. All right, let's get into the last 2 issues here, and that is the issue, I had to write this down again, and that is the challenge I got from somebody. This is going to be from Susan. I didn't get permission to use your full name, so I'll just do the initial. So let's jump into it. Okay, the last 2 issues are going to go really quick, and this one is a challenge I got from an email from Susan. Just to use her last initial, it is E, and she asked about, is there a way that we can create something in editing software to emulate something called emulation, she sent me some examples I'm going to share with you. And basically, I know a lot of people do this. I have never done it, but I've seen the end result. And a lot of people will use Polaroids, or some will actually use an actual print. Some will actually do an inkjet print, and then they wet it and they put it on some type of other paper and that, and they pull it off and tear it off, and they get a unique look. So she sent me some sample images, not of her work, but other people's work on the internet. So let's take a look at that. This is what she's talking about. Something like this, where you have all these wrinkles and stuff like that. And she asked, is it possible that we could do something like that in editing software like Photoshop? So that's one example. Again, here's another example. And I've got an idea, because I told her, I'm not sure if I can do something like that, and I'm going to work on it, but I do have an idea how I might approach this and do this in Photoshop. So we will possibly see that in the next coming weeks. But I love to get a challenge like this to see, ooh, is it possible for me to do? And again, I can't guarantee I'm going to do it, but I'm going to give it my best shot, Susan. So hang in there, and hopefully within a few weeks, we'll dedicate a whole video to just doing this. All right, and the very last issue, let's get into this. This is from Charles, so let's take a look at his images. All right, quickly before I get into the images here, just a quick reminder, if you would like to share one or two of your images to be shown on this channel, please feel free to email me. And again, stephenphotoartist@gmail.com. Send them as an attachment, and let me know if I can use your full name. Like this is Charles Fleshman. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. We're going to take a look at 3 of his images, and he gave me permission to use his full name. And these are 3 images, and he's doing techniques that he has learned from this channel. So the biggest thing right here that you should know about Charles is 87 years old, and boy, I hope I'm still around doing what Charles is doing. So let's take a look at his images right here. So this one, I know he used a technique that we did on a channel, a few months ago called Mean, and this is one of the images he had sent to me. I love the image, did a great job, pushing themselves creatively, right out of the box. So this is great stuff. And then here's another one that Charles did. And this is sort of a self-portrait. I can see the textures and blending that he did in this image right here. And then the very last image he sent me. Boy, you got me on this one, Charles. I'm a big sailing fan. I used to belong to the American Sailing Institute here. There's a chapter in the state of Michigan. And I used to be involved in racing and just fun sailing. It's just one of the things I love to do. And this, when I saw this, I'm thinking, boy, this would be a great cover to a book of images on sailing, and maybe put the title at the very bottom here or whatever. But I love the fact that he learned to use shapes that we did months ago to think creatively, again, out of the box. And as I basically say this to everybody, because I was always hammered home on my mentors, and that is, when you get excited about a concept or idea, what you need to do, because we're all at different levels in our skill levels of photography. And, I mentioned this in the past, we all start out as nothing more than picture takers with an expensive camera, okay? And then we start learning and getting better at our craft and that. I always tell people to do exactly what I was taught, and that is keep doing what you love to do. Keep pushing yourself. You need to do more of these things over and over again. And you will find that over time, you're going to refine that look and style. Just doing it once or twice is fine, but doing it over and over, keep repeating with different images and stuff, you're going to find that subconsciously you're going to change. It's really amazing that when I go back and look at stuff that I did 10, 15, even 20 years ago that I thought was pretty good, and I'm going, it's not to my standard anymore. Why? Because we get better, right? As we practice and do things. So again, Charles, great job. Thank you for sharing that. And again, anybody else, if you want me to share your images, again, no critiquing at all. I just don't believe in that, like a lot of my mentors, because I would be expressing, it's very biased, my opinion on things. This is your work, okay? Very, very important just to get excited to do more of this. All right, so feel free, again, the email address should be in the show notes for you if you want to share that with. Just let me know whether I can use your full name. If not, it's just going to be first name and last initial. All right, everybody, hopefully you enjoyed this month's Philosophy of a Photo Artist. I'll do one in February for you. And again, let's think creatively out of the box. And I mean literally out of the box. Until next time, see ya.